What's going on, guys? It's most guys. I'm doing a commentary finally at long last again. It's been a few weeks since I actually did my last one, but for today I'm going to be talking about a Far Cry 3 random moments and kills video that I will be uploading 1 hour from this one going live. So basically make an intro for it, and then also maybe quickly talk about why I haven't uploaded any commentaries for the last few weeks because of this video, and also because I've been working on some gun syncs and such, but I'll get into more of that here in a bit. And then talk about some quick gaming news because E3 is coming up and all that sort of stuff, which I am pretty excited about. So maybe I could quickly talk about some quick things from what I expect from it and all that sort of stuff. And then if there is time, if it isn't too long, this commentary and all that sort of stuff, then I will also talk about my first impressions or thoughts about Ironsight, because I actually said it on my first gameplay that I uploaded that I would talk about it in the next commentary video that I would do, which I, well, never did. So I'll quickly do that maybe in this one, not because there is a lot to talk about, but just in general, leaving my thoughts quickly about it. That was pretty much what I planned to do. So that's what I'm gonna be talking about for today's commentary video. And yeah, without further ado, let me just start with the Far Cry 3 co-op video. So the first thing is that this was played with Jimmy Beast and Play Guy. It was played around 1 month, maybe 1.5 ago, and it is something that took me a while to actually edit because I wasn't sure how to approach it, and also because I had to rewatch everything that was recorded. So I had to spend a few hours just rewatching all the missions, attempts and all that sort of stuff, and check for something maybe useful or worth using. So that took a while, and that was something that did take up some of my time to make commentaries here and there with the weeks going by, because it's not all the time I have to record commentaries, and also in terms of the editing and all that sort of stuff, I also gotta keep up with school and what the heck do I know. So yeah, I had to prioritize this rewatching phase. Then I went to the cutting phase after having rewatched everything, taking out most of the footage that I thought was useless. I had to rewatch it all over again just to get an idea of how I want to combine everything. So that took some time as well, and also figuring out what is different from the other clips, because a lot of it was actually just Play Guy teabagging and dying over and over. So that was something I didn't want to use everything of. I cut it out, a lot of it, just to keep some bits of it here and there for this one. And then I also took some of the other random stuff in it that I now thought could be useful. And I wasn't sure how to approach the editing at first after having checked a few times and rewatched the stuff that I now thought was useful. Going into the editing, it was kind of tough for me to figure that out, when I should use certain sound effects and such. So that took me some time. So what I did instead was basically trying to set everything up, not in a chronological order with the missions, but just in a different way, where I feel like this clip could fit in with the other or something like that, with transitioning, to see how to really get it going and get an idea of how the sound effects should be applied into the video. So that's what I did. And at the same time, I remember also working on a gun sync at the time being, because I was actually able to hit 2 clips that I could use. So if I couldn't really figure it out, or I needed a break from this Far Cry 3 video, I would work on this sync video instead, and not on a commentary, because commentary takes a while to record for me given the attempts I require, and also the editing process with that, it takes a while to cut out the mistakes. Anyway, back to the Far Cry 3 video. So when I took a break from the Far Cry 3 to the gun sync and such, moving from one project, I guess you could say, to the other here and there, it kind of gave me some breathing room to start on a fresh, I guess you could say. After having taken the break from the Far Cry 3 video and going to the gun sync video, I would notice other things that could be different in the Far Cry 3 video that I couldn't before, because I kept spending time just rewatching over and over, and eventually I guess I would get tired of it and stuff. So I guess it was nice that I could switch between those 2 projects in some ways. And then yeah, eventually, as time went by, weeks had passed, and I just had not uploaded any commentaries. But just to give you viewers the story behind not uploading any commentaries, this is the reason. Having the Far Cry 3 video mainly as the priority, the gun sync, and then also getting gameplays and I guess enjoying myself in these games I now feel like playing, that is something that has taken the most time. And now here we are, moving forward a few weeks from the last one that I did. Finally finished with this Far Cry 3 video. Eventually, when I figured out the approach as well, I added in some different sound effects. I wanted it to be different from the Destiny one. I didn't want to only keep Battlefield as the main ones with the voice lines there. So for this one, I also went with God of War, because it was a recent title and it was one I really enjoyed. And the story in that had some solid voice lines, that I could maybe also use. So I had to actually also rewatch some quick story parts of the game, and also watched a few boy compilations that has been made with the game, because some of them could maybe be used in this. So I spent a lot of time also watching that, and with Detroit Become Human as a thing that was also released as a new thing recently, I also had to spend time watching that because I was pretty excited for the story there. So a lot of time has been spent on watching stuff instead of actually doing stuff, I guess. But now I'm finally done. I managed to really cut out a lot of the footage that I originally had planned to use, and it's quite short. Even now when I rewatch the final version, I gotta say, can be a little confusing sometimes with the clips. Sometimes I see certain clips with the sound effects as it now is with the final version, where it fits, while other times when I rewatch it, it just doesn't seem like it fits at all. I don't know why it feels like that for me when I try and check it over and over for improvements maybe. But that is basically the Far Cry 3 video, and I guess also the whole why I didn't upload any content for the past few weeks part. So moving on to the next thing is actually E3, and that is coming up in a few days. I'm pretty excited for it. I can't wait to see the press conferences, especially from Sony and Microsoft and also Ubisoft and maybe Square Enix, depending on what I really look forward to with their games, because currently it's only Shadow of the Tomb Raider, maybe Life is Strange Season 2, and then also a Avengers game I'm pretty sure they had one studio making, if I remember correctly. So there is some interesting stuff there that I look forward to. But as E3 is coming up, there's also gonna be some announcement from Sony starting tomorrow. They will announce one game each day leading up to it, which I think is pretty awesome. Hopefully it will be good games and not just random games or something like that they plan to show at E3. Maybe one of the games could be Dreams that will be shown, given that they would focus on 4 games at their press conference, which is The Last of Us Part 2, Spider-Man, which is my most anticipated game right now, and then there's also Ghost of Tsushima and Death Stranding. So it's gonna be interesting. Maybe Days Gone will be another game that they will show before the press conference with one of these days leading up to it. It's gonna be some interesting times, that's for sure. And also in general with the whole Black Ops 4, Battlefield 5, I never really talked about that either. I'm not really too impressed with both games, given that both games wasn't really what I wanted from them. I just wanted a modern era game. Sadly, no one could deliver that, so I don't really know if I want to talk about it at this point. I think I'll just pass with those two and move on quickly to The Division 2 from Ubisoft. I look forward to it in some ways, given that I originally was pretty excited for the reveal of The Division 1. It looked really stunning and amazing. Sadly, it wasn't really having that same feel when the game eventually came out, but I hope that they will improve with this sequel. I hope they will also announce a Splinter Cell game for this year at the Ubisoft press conference, and maybe a new Rayman game. I really miss something new with that franchise at this point. And yeah, that should be pretty much all I really expect from Ubisoft. Then there's also Microsoft. I don't really know what to expect from them, given that they have a lot of third-party stuff they usually showcase there. So it could be everything from EA to Ubisoft, in terms of partnership deals and such, to indie games and what the heck do I know. And of course also some of the exclusives, such as maybe Halo or Gears of War could be returning, I think. Maybe Forza again, which is their usual free exclusives there. Crackdown 3 maybe, I don't know. Not that I have a huge interest in it, but just in general I don't know what to expect from their press conference, so I can't really say much there. But as a whole I still look forward to it nonetheless. And Nintendo also, I don't really know what to expect there either. And then there's EA, which I don't really want to say much about because there isn't really much to expect from them. FIFA, maybe some other sports titles as well. Battlefield 5, Anthem maybe, which looks pretty interesting, but I'm not sure what to expect from it. And then there's also maybe gonna be one quick indie game of some sort, sort of like Unraveled, and last year we had A Way Out. I think they will have one random indie game of some sort to showcase this year as well. And maybe some Star Wars. Obviously Respawn Entertainment has been working on a game. I look forward to see what that is, which was a Star Wars game I'm pretty sure from what I remember reading about it. So yeah, gonna be interesting times nevertheless with E3 coming up. And next and last but not least is the thoughts on Ironsight. So I'm gonna start with the negatives and then quickly go into the positives, because there isn't really a whole lot to mention. So the negatives, I didn't like the whole slow time to kill in the game. I don't like the slow health regeneration either. And with the time to kill, what I mean by that is the up close, really close quarter combat gunfights that you will get. That is the only times you will get a solid time to kill feel, for me at least. That reminds me of Call of Duty. If you get outside of that kind of range, you will have a really slow time to kill, where it feels like you have to shoot them from 5 to maybe 10 times before they will die, depending on the range with medium to long. And it's not because Ironsight has a lot of maps, but in a map like Mart, it doesn't matter too much there in most cases, but it still feels a little off there with the time to kill at those medium ranges and such. But it's more on the other maps that I am a little worried with the time to kill, because they are not as close quarter combat focused and such, and so the time to kill for me when I play those other maps doesn't feel that good. So I would like to see an improvement there, and same thing with the slow health regeneration system that it currently has, because if you, for example, play in a map like Mart, I mentioned this map specifically because it's my favorite map as well for the close quarter combat feel. If you play on that map, you pretty much require a fast health regeneration of some sort, or at least a faster than there is currently with the game, because you gotta be ready for the next gunfights quite often. And if you regenerate so slow, how will you be able to challenge or compete with the enemy that you are about to face or something like that, if you are maybe one shot from death or something? So I would like to see the health regeneration time being buffed, or nerfed should I say, I'm not sure, but I would like it to be changed so that it feels faster, because right now it feels like it starts to regenerate from 7, maybe 10 seconds, maybe, I'm not sure. That's just the feel I got from it. So I would like to see that changed so that it will regenerate a bit faster after a gunfight. Then the next thing I don't like is also a perk called Balanced, which is basically decreasing recoil by 50%. That's what it at least says. And then you can also hold your breath for 100% longer, from what I remember. And the problem I have with this perk is that it doesn't feel like it works with the whole recoil decreased by 50%. I don't see a change there, so I would like to see that being fixed, I guess, or changed. And I would like to see it actually being removed, that perk, and see them add in a attachment which is basically the foregrip instead of having this perk that decreases recoil, because I want to have that as an attachment instead with the foregrip, not only because it looks better with the gun, but also because it feels more right for me to have that through a gun attachment instead of a perk. So I would like to see that changed, and also see a extra attachment slot being added into the game, because currently so far you have 3 different attachment slots. One is for a certain ammo type you want, so armor piercing and soft point bullets or something like that. That is pretty much the only 2 you can choose from in that specific attachment slot. Then you have 2 that you can choose from optics to barrel attachments, such as the suppressor, or maybe a muzzle brake, a long barrel maybe, or heavy barrel, whatever it's called. You have those different things there that you can choose from, and I would like to see that change so that you have 3, so that you also can have a foregrip as well if you want the other things as well. So that is why I want to see a change there. And then maybe in the camo department with the guns, I know it's a free-to-play game and all, but I would like to see them change their way to unlock camos through headshots, just like Call of Duty does it, instead of currently having it through unlocking one camo gun through either a loot box or by buying one for the double amount of price to unlock that certain camo version of a base gun, because a base weapon costs 20,000 credits and a camo version of it costs 40,000 credits. And then there's some certain variants or camos that cost a different currency, which is a premium currency or something like that, I think. So I would like to see a change there, just with the basic camos that cost 40,000, that you'll be able to unlock them through headshot challenges instead. I would appreciate that. But besides those things that I thought was the more negatives, not because the camo and all that sort of stuff was a huge negative thing, but besides those, the game feels good nevertheless. I like the gameplay. It also feels sort of fast paced. The maps, they don't fit me personally with my playstyle a lot, because I prefer really tight close quarter combat personally, which is why you see me, for example, play Shipment in World War II only currently, if I do play it of course, or in general with other maps from all Call of Duty games. Usually it's all those really small maps that I prefer playing on, like Nuketown, Hijack, Rust, Dome, and if I can say it, I'm not really sure, but Strike Zone and Genesis, they are pretty much a copy-pasted layout from Dome, so I don't know if I can mention it, but I really prefer those kinds of maps instead of what currently is in Ironsight, because a map like Dam doesn't feel good. Oceanfront does give you that close quarter combat feel, but at the same time it's kind of hard to push for that close quarter feel when there is players sniping and such from the windows, or what the heck do I know. So I'm not really too big of a fan with that one. Then there's also Titan. I don't mind that one. That one feels sorta solid, but you can also get into those medium ranges, and that's where the time to kill comes in, and it feels a little bit off for me. So yeah, I would like to see a change with the maps as well, layout wise I guess, or at least a buff with the time to kill so it feels better with the weapons. And yeah, game feels good as I mentioned before. besides that, I'm sure the maps would be solid if the time to kill would feel right and the health regeneration for me. I would love to see more maps because there isn't that many, and yeah, overall I like the class system as it's built. It reminds me of Call of Duty in some ways back at the day, not currently with the pick 10. And score streaks, they are really good in this one as well. You can only earn them once, depending on how good you are and such, but also how high tier it is. I really like this approach instead of Call of Duties, where you can earn your streaks multiple times during a match. You just gotta have enough points to earn them, and in this one it's a lot more expensive, so I like this much more. There's offensive and defensive streaks, or was it support streaks? I think something like that. Nevertheless, I like this approach more because it feels better and people can't spam, for example, the chopper gunner kill streak, which I don't know the name of in this game, but for example in World War II, when I play Shipment, people will spam in their airstrikes, their paratroopers and such, which I'm not a big fan of. So I like this much more, feels much better than Call of Duty's approach with their system with the streaks, and I would love to see it changed in Call of Duty, especially in something like Shipment, where I would love to see a disabled score streak playlist instead. But anyways, that is pretty much my thought on Ironsight. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did stick around for this long, I will try and cut it as short as possible, as I mentioned before, because the raw version is quite long, around 35 minutes. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys on the next one.
Move up! Topping off, stand by.